Hi guys, today we're going to do a beautiful stretch session just to end off your day with an indulgent, yummy and good for you movement. So we're going to start seated. You can cross your legs or you can have your legs out in front of you, whatever feels the most comfortable. And you're going to have a TheraBand close by. So I've got the yellow one, but a blue one or a black one is absolutely fine. And you'll start with your hands just resting on your knees and close your eyes for me. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Inhale, filling your lungs with air, and then exhale to rid yourself of that air. Try and imagine inhaling to your capacity and exhale, wringing out all of those muscles. Inhaling to your maximum and sigh it out audibly. Last one. And then exhale. Good. Go onto your hands and your knees in 4-point kneeling. So you'll turn your body over. Hands are underneath your shoulders and knees are underneath your hips. You'll start by pressing the fingertips into the ground and shoving your shins down as well. On an inhale, round your back up, tucking in your chin and your chest. And then curling the tailbone under to really arch the bones of your back up towards the ceiling. Sink the spine down and gaze forward, sticking out your tailbone. And then tuck in your chin and round yourself back up again. Pull pubic bone towards your sternum, draw in the navel towards your spine, and then sink the spine down and look forward. Arch up, inhaling to try and maximize that inhale and try and stretch into the intercostal muscles between each one of the ribs. Tuck the tailbone under, trying to stretch the lumbar spine by shortening into your abdominals. We inhale to lengthen and then rounding the back up. Tuck your toes underneath you and then press yourself into an upstretch or downward dog. Try and pedal your feet so that your heels press into the ground, one heel and then the other. Keep stretching into your arms, pushing your chest between your shoulders, but rounding your shoulders as well to try and stretch across the upper back. Stay still here with the heels pressed into the ground, lengthening your heels down into the floor, pushing your heels down so that you can also extend your bum bones back and up and get the stretch on either side of the hamstring. Draw in your navel, breathe in through the nose, straighten your arms. And then step your right foot forward so that it's in between your hands. Try and straighten both your legs in this position. Attempt to stretch the hamstring and the calf on both sides. See how low you can put your chest. Tuck in your chin and breathe. For some of us, this stance will be a little narrower, so not as big a step. Keep trying to press the heel down on both sides and try to square off the pelvis, pulling the right hip back into its socket. Hold it for 2 more breaths. And then keep your weight on the front leg, lifting the heel of your hind leg. Step both feet to the front of your mat. We're going to put the right foot back behind you, stepping it back, pressing your heel into the floor. So both legs are straight again, with the left leg leading. You can square off the pelvis, press the heels down, keep the head heavy, and breathe. Continue to press the chest down into the legs, softening in your elbows. I don't want pain in the back of the knee, so make sure if your front leg is too straight, you can soften in the knee joint and try and get more comfort, but do press the big toes down on both sides. Take 2 more breaths in here, trying to square off your hips. And then take the left leg back, so you're going to have to put your hands down either more firmly on the ground, but you want to try and put that left leg back and go back into your up stretch, pressing the heels down into the floor, and see if there's any difference in the feeling that you have in the back of the legs. Press the chest down towards your shins. Breathe. And then slowly bend your knees to go back onto your hands and knees in 4-point kneeling. Then roll yourself up to kneeling. So you're now on your mat, on your 2 knees. You have your hands free. So we're going to go into a hip flexor stretch on one side. So let's take your right foot forward, and then weight bearing on the left knee. You want to be careful of discomfort in the kneecap. So we'll wiggle that left knee back. You might want to double up the mat, or what you can do is do this stretch and side lying instead. So how side lying would look would be like that. But we're going to do it kneeling, or attempt to do it kneeling. So you start with a hip flexor stretch. The toe at the back can be tucked under or flat, whatever feels more comfortable in the kneecap. And then we just start with a tuck in the tail, and you holding yourself in this position for a stretch. If you're up to it, you can push your foot into the floor and grab hold. You have to do the foot into the floor thing, and then grab hold of the ankle. If you don't put the foot into the floor, you might cramp in your hamstring. So you're holding this stretch upright, trying to squeeze the tailbone under and get more stretch out the front of the body. And so you hold it here for 2 more breaths. And when you come down, you do so carefully. And then we get to swap legs. So put the left foot forward, wiggle the toes forward, push the pelvis forward, tuck the tail at the back, push the foot into the ground. If this is good enough, fine. Pushing that shin into the floor stops you from cramping. Grab the foot and stretch the front of your thigh. Breathe. Lifting the chest, drawing in the navel, breathing. Two more. And then when we come out of it, you carefully lower the foot and we straighten that left leg, pulling the toes to your nose. Your hands are going to frame your shin, and there you are. Pulling the hip back into its socket. Toes are up towards the ceiling, ankles in neutral, and you're trying not to lean over to one side. You try to stay in the middle of your mat. Holding it there. Keeping that left foot pulled up towards the ceiling. And now we'll turn. So you still have that left foot out to the side, but you've turned so that you've got an open adductor, and your hands can go flat on the floor, and you'll rock yourself back and forward just to stretch the inner thigh. You can even choose to go down on the ground, whatever feels better in your body. Or remain up high, but you're attempting to stretch your groin. If you find a good spot, stay there, no problemo. And then we're going to turn to face the other way with the right leg out in front of you. So now you're facing the other side of your mat. Your toes are up towards the ceiling. You're trying to square off your pelvis. You're trying to square off the ankle. So you'll see any tightness or deviations in the heel will result in your foot wanting to run away from the stretch. So leaning into the stretch, pulling the foot back towards you, almost anchoring the whole leg bone into the socket. Breathing in through the nose. The further forward you go, the deeper the stretch, dropping your chest and holding it there. Two breaths here. And then turning back to face the front, we have that inner thigh stretch on hands or elbows. Rock back into the groin, sticking out your tailbone, rock forward. Down on the elbows if wanted, if needed. And then coming up, only to sit back down again. And take your legs out into a wide stance, seated on your mat. Be careful of the knees on the inside of the knee if you're feeling a bit tender in the joint line here. You're going to want to soften in the knees when you're doing those kinds of tight-legged stretches. So here we have another one. The legs are open and you're going to prop your hands behind your back and lift your head and chest up. Shoulders are back behind you and you are stretching the inner thigh. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. By digging the heels into the ground and widening your stance, you can feel a little bit deeper into the insertion. Two more breaths. And then we're going to commit to one side. So I'm going to go left first. I'm going to turn the torso left and then reach down that left leg, trying to hold onto my ankle. If you can put your hands over your feet, chin in, and then you drag yourself along the left leg. If it's just your calf that you can grab hold of, you put your elbows or seek the floor with your elbows and you pull yourself down like so. Then we'll move across to the other side. So you're looking for the ankle or the ground or your foot and you stretch, trying to keep the other leg pulled down into the floor. Deep breath in here. And then come to the middle. See if you can grab both ankles or both feet. Lengthen your spine, lifting your chest a little higher, trying to get further along as opposed to low down and rounded. Try and make yourself straighter and pull further along. And then you'll come up slowly to seated and into this mermaid position. So the left leg bends and the right leg goes behind you. You're sitting upright. This might be uncomfortable for some people's knees, so you just need to weigh up if it's worth doing for you. But here into the hip are some tender muscles. You want to dig inside these muscles with your thumb or your elbow and just try and see if you can improve this internal rotation in your hip by being in the position, being in this the posture, and then seeing what bands of muscles are tight here on the outside of the hip. This is your TFL, your tensor fasciae latae muscle, and so it's full of trigger points, especially in this position. It kind of makes the muscle feel meatier, and you're able to dig in and feel where you're tight. So not everyone can get the elbow down, but I really encourage trying to strum across the muscle with either the elbow or the thumb, and then you can make your way down into more of the hip flexor insertion. But yeah, it's a juicy little area to get stuck into. So we're going to then come out of this side and onto the other side and dig in there. We're attempting to kind of pull the hip bone back into the depths of the socket, just showing the brain that it's possible to pull it back so it doesn't have to sit very far forward. I know that sounds strange to say, but you've got to visualize this bone living at the back of the hip, making space, creating space, allowing it to go into its rightful place. And then let's massage around the TFL. And you can choose to use the elbow if you please. Otherwise, back to the thumbs. There's quite a lot happening in this area, so it makes sense that it's uncomfortable. It's not just purely the tightness, there's also blood vessels and neural tissue that could be sensitized. But it feels like a good bruisey pain, and it does release you afterwards. So if you're hitting a horrible spot and you're worried, I think you're not alone. You've got company. It's quite nasty in most of us, but you shouldn't have neural pain down the leg when you're doing it. It's just like a bit of a bruisey feeling, and that's enough of that. Thank you very much. You're going to get onto your bottom. Grab hold of your TheraBand. We want the feedback from the TheraBand. So I want to encourage you to put your toes inside the band and then lie down on your back. I'm going to lift the leg in the air. And then you pump your ankle. So making sure it's not going to go flying off. But you want to have those toes in there so that you can point into the band and then flex and point and flex. Now the other leg is important too. So let's make sure we don't neglect the left. I've got the right in the air and we're pumping the ankle. And then we're going to keep the arms straight. So if it means getting higher up the TheraBand, so be it. Keep the arms straight and then turn the foot in so that you're twisting your ankle. Turn your kneecap out and hold the band in your left hand only, and then move the leg across the body so that you stretch your iliotibial band. Straighten into the leg. Inhale here. And come out of the stretch. Bend at the knee so that the thigh is very close to your chest. You might not even need the band for this portion. You might just decide to grab onto your toes and then you attempt to take the leg over your head. So you're just holding on either to the band, but the knee is bent. And you're trying to straighten your leg. And you might just find grabbing the foot easier. And then we'll take the same leg across your body, holding onto the ankle. You press the foot down on the floor, stretching the TFL, which we were digging into just now. So I've actually got the sole of the foot attempting to touch the floor. Now, if you've got a hip injury or a hip replacement, then this is not an ideal stretch for you, because it makes the joint feel very vulnerable, like it could pop out. So instead, you can just take the knee towards your chest and hug it in, possibly to the midline, but certainly not across the body if it's a fresh replacement. But the rest of us, we're going to try and get that TFL to stretch and to feel the space in the joint open up. And then we've got to do that whole hamstring series again, but on the left leg. So I'm going to let go that right ankle. Grab the TheraBand. With the very thin ones, the yellow ones, it feels like it's going to fall off your foot. So just be aware. And then the leg goes up in the air, the other leg goes down, and you're going to pump the ankle. So you're pumping at the ankle joint. You're going to separate the two strands into separate bands and have straight arms. It's just better for the tension in your neck and your shoulders to have that. How you're holding it like that with separate bands. And so we want the foot to point, even that big toe. You must try and curl it over without it falling and smacking you in the chest. And we're pumping away. All the fingers and the toes are trying to do it. Very good for your lymphatic system to have your legs up in the air while pumping your calves. As you're using the musculature in the lower leg to squeeze all the fluid through the lymphatic vessels. The lymphatic system, let's change so that you're holding the band in your right hand only and you turn your ankle over and take the leg across your body. The lymphatic system doesn't have a heart. It has your muscles and your movement and even your resonance, the fact that you're talking, that vibration. That's what moves fluid through the vessels in your body, in your drainage system. So it's like your grey water, but it moves through movement. And especially at the bottom of your body, by the calves, you really need to be mobile and walk around a lot to be able to get that fluid back up into your circulatory system. And so we come out of this one. Now you have a choice. You can use the band and drag everything towards your chest. By bending the knee, you get into the belly of the muscle in the hamstring. Or you can hold onto the foot itself and try and drag the leg down in a bent-legged hamstring stretch. And then stretch that other leg along the ground, because now it's being pulled up into like a hip flexor. Well, it's not being pulled into hip flexor stretch. We're forcing the hip flexor to stretch. If we let the hip flexor get away without stretching, the knee will bend up. So squash the leg down. Breathe here. And then I grab the ankle. So I'm holding the left ankle with the right hand and I'm pulling the foot all the way across the hip so that you can settle the foot on the mat and stretch the left TFL, tensor fascia latae. Breathe. Finding just a bit of stillness. It's quite nice. And then we come out of that stretch to lie down on your right hand side. So you're on your right side, you're going to support your head with the right arm. And then you bend both knees up quite high. You grab your left ankle with your left hand and then place your right foot in the front of your left thigh so that the heel is almost above the kneecap onto the thigh bone and it presses back the leg, trying to stretch out your quadriceps. Now if you tuck your tail, then it makes it worse. Breathing, squeezing, pressing, tucking. This next stretch is quite intense. You're going to come out of the thigh stretch and we're going to do a pectoral stretch. So I want you lying on your stomach and we'll start with the left side. So your left hand goes to 90 degrees, but 90 to you becomes too acute when we do the stretch. So as people roll over, so I'd like you to actually take yourself 10 degrees up from 90 so that it feels like it's about 100. And then you're going to turn your head to the right hand side. So you're looking away from that left arm. The right elbow's bent with your palm down flat on the floor. So it looks like that. And then we're going to bend the right knee and take the leg up and over. So it's quite a big stretch on the back. And it's a huge stretch on your left pectoral. You want to make sure that you're encouraging a healthy joint position, that you're not letting the shoulder dump into the ground. So I'd like you to pull the shoulder off the floor and if possible, walk your fingers further along the floor. And breathe in this position, trying to encourage that stretch to open up your chest. An alternative for this would be a doorway stretch with your arms at 90 degrees on either side of the doorway and you walk gently through. Then come out of the stretch and you can choose to repeat it again with your hands a little higher or at 90 degrees. If you keep it at 90 degrees here in the elbow bend and take it over, you'll feel it works just slightly different fibers. And then we'll come out of that stretch and hopefully it served you. But if it doesn't, then do the stretch at the doorway. We'll do the other side now. I haven't forgotten about the thigh. I know we still want to do it. So right arm goes out to the side. Left elbow is bent like so. Left leg bends. And you take the leg up and over. And then we're going to modify the stretch, so either 90-degree bend in the shoulder, or this arm goes straight out on the diagonal line. And so we'll go again, up and over. Looking for the stretch without sacrificing the shoulder itself. Come out of the stretch and then roll over and do the thigh. Both knees come up to chest. Grab hold of your ankle. It's the right ankle now, and you pull the leg back with the left foot pressed into the front of the thigh, squeezing the glutes, supporting your head, breathing. Tuck your tail and press that leg back. Squeeze your glutes, close your rib cage, pull pubic bone towards your sternum. And come out of the stretch slowly. Then lie down on your back, relaxing your legs, relaxing your arms. Find softness in the body. Turn your head to the right, trying to press your jaw down and into the floor. Turn your head back up and over to the other side. Come back to center, and then using your hands, try grab hold of your sternocleidomastoid, which is this muscle that runs almost from like your earlobe towards the collarbone on your neck. So if you feel around, you can actually grab it. It's like a string, it's like a rope. And you can just grab hold of that rope with your thumb and your finger and just try and strum away, massaging the sternocleidomastoid. It runs from here down to the collarbone. Do the other side as well. You want to try and grab it and almost like go up and down that muscle. And then take your hands, interlacing your fingers, and place your hands behind your head. Elbows go in, chin goes down, and then lift your head up just to stretch the back of your neck, looking down at your hips. You can choose to have straight legs or bent knees, but you're going to tuck in your chin and try and pull yourself up into a stretch while the head tries to lie back down again. And then slowly release the head down and relax your arms at your sides. Relax your legs now to the corners of your mat and seek that softness that we're always after. Breathing into your belly and sigh it out. Take a lovely inhale. Exhale. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, you can let all your tension just go. Well done.